Hello, my name is Chris Brook, and we're doing a podcast. This is going to be like a video series podcast to talk about how I got scammed. Kind of a fun little topic there. If you look at the name of this channel, the name is Scammed into Startup, and that's basically what happened. So again, my name is Chris. Christopher Brook is my full name, and I'm an entrepreneur. I've been owned my own little LLC for a year now, and we'll talk about why that all came to being and whatever. But anyway, the point of this podcast slash YouTube series slash whatever that we're going to be doing here is to talk about kind of like the story of how I got scammed. I got scammed last year, and I'll go into the details of that. But and also kind of like everything that went on with that, and then also what I learned from it. I was kind of like into business and entrepreneuring before that, but I got scammed by one of those pay us a lot of money and we'll teach you how to start a business up really, really quickly kind of scams. But so I'm going to go ahead and walk you through what happened, and everything I learned from it, because most of the stuff I learned from it, I really ended up teaching myself anyway to get where I am now. So anyway, we're going to be going through that. Firstly, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so just letting you know this is really, really freaking me out a little bit. It's like how weird is it to sit and talk to a camera, here, and to anybody who will hopefully be watching this in the future, while talking about stuff that's not particularly flattering. Like who wants to admit they got scammed for a lot of money, but. Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and get started here. Firstly, you guys, if you see like my eyes twitch or something like that, or my mouth twitch or whatever, I've got neuropathy in the nerves in my face here. So give me a break on that. My nerves are doing all kinds of weird things there. I'm sorry if I make a weird face every once in a while. There's nothing I can do about that. If you're watching the podcast or listening to the podcast, you don't have to worry about that. Lucky you. Okay. So. Anyway, so what is my story? What is all this about? So I'm a college student. I'm in my senior year of an engineering degree. And a while ago I figured out I really, really didn't like engineering. It kind of sucks. It's good money if you like being an employee. It's not a bad job. But I realized I really don't like being an employee. And I was lucky enough to figure that out really, really early. But anyway, so about a year, I don't know, about 2 years ago now, I started looking into, business and entrepreneuring. If you're watching this, you're probably a business kind of person anyway, which means you're probably familiar with the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert T. Kiyosaki. Like, if you haven't read that book, read it because it'll change your life. But anyway, it changed my life and got me, totally on this whole path of, being interested in owning a company, owning a business, being an entrepreneur, anything I could do to make money that didn't involve punching into a clock every day. Um, just so you know, I've got my notes here. Again, first time I've ever done this, so give me a break if I'm looking down at my notes every 10 seconds. But, I'm still trying to figure this whole podcasting video making game out. But anyway, my background. I'm a college student. I come from a typical, kind of like middle class, kind of family, very, very average. Actually, my dad's a dental hygienist. My mom's a high school librarian. They made a good living, but not like amazing, whatever. So it's not like I was, raised in a family where there's a history of, business or history of anything like that. Everything I was doing with all this, I had to figure out on my own. Like literally everything. But so that was me. A couple of years ago, I was in college. I was on the fast track to the whole corporate grind thing. And then I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and became kind of a business startup entrepreneuring addict. It's like, oh my God, I want to learn everything I possibly can about this. I basically realized that this whole job thing was bullshit. And just so you know, guys, I do swear. I swear a lot actually. Normally I swear like a sailor. Like every other word out of my mouth sometimes. But I'm going to try and keep it to a minimum while we're doing this, but just so you know, there will be cuss words in this podcast. If you don't like it, sorry. Maybe we'll make a bleeped vanilla version for you. But Anyway, so I wanted to start a business. I wanted to, find a way to support myself, especially because, it's like I'm getting through my college degree. When this whole happened, I had like another year and a half left to college, and I'm starting to think, oh wow, I really need to, get something in place here. At this current point, a year later, I'm actually in my last semester of college. I'll be graduated with my engineering degree very, very soon. I'm actually taking my FE licensing exam, the fundamentals of engineering exam. I'm actually taking that tomorrow. So, little everywhere today. But so anyway, I was looking at, well, I need to, get something going here, or else when I graduate in a year and a half, I'm going to have to get a job and do the whole corporate thing anyway. But unfortunately, I'm also a really lazy kind of guy. Like I'm like one of those really smart, really lazy kind of people, where it's like everything I've ever done in my life, I've been really good at. And so it's like, I don't want to have to try and work hard for anything, and sorry, what you got to do? We get the deck of cards that we get when we're born, and we got to do the best we can with what we got. But anyway, so my whole thing was, well, I want to start a business, but I'm also really lazy, so it's kind of like what I really wanted was to, to hack the system, and create this booming, self-employed business like immediately, and I know that's what we all want, like the whole work hard for 10 years and make it big is great, but none of us really want to do that. Let's be honest. Most of us are going to have to do that if we want to make it that way, but none of us wants to do that. Basically the real thing I wanted though, like underneath all that is I wanted money. At the time I was working at the Home Depot, really, really, really shitty job. I was working in the electrical department there. I was teaching people how to wire their houses for $11 an hour. Like I should have been making $70 an hour in the Electricians Guild, or not guild, but the Electricians Union or something like that. But basically what I really, really wanted is I wanted to get out of my shitty Home Depot job and actually make money. Without having to go and punch in for, or not even punch in, but go in and work 40 hours a week. Um, but yeah, I was worried about that. Again, I was worried about having to get a real job after high school. I didn't like the whole get a job, start a, all that kind of stuff. Didn't really sit well with me, Um, let me see, what's next on my notes here. Okay, so yeah, anyway, I was looking at, well, how do I start a company here? I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I was like, well, okay, so apparently, if you don't want to do the whole work for somebody else thing, what you got to do is you got to start your own business, and it's like, ooh, that's this really, really, really cool concept, coming from somebody, someone with my background, where I was raised my entire life to, go to college, get a job, work till you're 60 and then retire. Now it's like 70 or whatever you have to work to, but whatever. The whole start a business thing was like this amazing concept to me. It's like, oh my God, this is so freaking cool. Except that I had no idea how to do it. It's like, well, okay, I know I need a business. I know apparently I'm supposed to start this thing called an entity, an LLC or a company or whatever. Didn't really have any clue how to do it. And I had a couple ideas. But they were all like very abstract things. Like for example, like kind of like one of the things that really like pushed me into the whole entrepreneuring thing was one day me and this buddy of mine, we were sitting around in the break room at Home Depot. He was a work buddy, and he was actually somebody very, very similar to me in that regard. He'd actually read the same book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, changed his life too. Whoa, I mean, imagine that. Maybe you should go read the book, huh? It might change your life. But anyway, we were sitting around talking there. We both realized that we were both into that, and we were thinking about, well, how can we make money? And we were goofing around, and we came up with this little app idea, little cool app game we could create. And we're like, oh my God, we could totally make this app. Let's go out and learn how to program apps. Let's learn how to use how to use Unity. You ever seen that little logo with like the weird shield thing every time you pull up an app game? We were like, hey, let's go learn how to use Unity so we can make our little app game, and then we'll put an app game up there. And by this time next month we'll be multimillionaires. Ooh, really, really cool. Didn't work out, but anyway, it kind of illustrates the point. Like we, or me, I guess, us in that case, but me in general, like, really interested in starting a business, starting a company, finding some way to make money that didn't involve, having to work for somebody else for 4 hours a week. But I had absolutely no idea how to do it. And So about this same time, I gotta love those targeted ads on Facebook. Like Facebook sees, hey, you're into business. How'd you like to see all these ads for people who are into business? And so I started seeing those little ads pop up about, hey, come to our free our free event. So this, we're such and such company, and we're holding a free event in your town. In another week. Would you like to sign up? You can come for free business class, cool, whatever. So I started seeing those, and I thought, well, this might be kind of cool. I can learn how to. It might be cool to take a business class. Again, I'd never taken anything like this in college. In college, I studied engineering, I studied mathematics, I studied music, I studied interpersonal communications. Never did a thing with business. Like I didn't know, anything business related from a hole in the ground. But I was seeing these little things, and I was like, oh my god, little free business class. Like I should sign up. So I sign up. And a week later, I show up, and whoa! Imagine that this little 1 day business course, that's like 3 hours long. It's actually a pitch, for another business class that's 3 days. So I show up, I bring my notepad. I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to learn like so many amazing things here. But I get in there, and they give me a few little nuggets about, oh yeah, you should probably start an LLC. You should, do this, do that. A couple little very, very general business tips. And then they're like, hey, and we're also doing in another month, we're doing a 3 day workshop. You can come to our 3 day workshop, and we're going to teach you a whole bunch more stuff. And it's only a certain a certain amount of money. I'd actually went to a couple of these things. I ended up, I think, going to two of them in total. I saw several of them. I signed up for two, and the first one I went to, like the 3 day workshop, they were trying to sell. Like, hey, you can come back to our 3 day workshop we're going to be hosting next month, and get way more stuff. But then with the first one I went to was like 500 or something, which honestly to me seemed like a lot of money at the time. I was working at Home Depot. I was broke. I had some savings, I had a bit of credit, but nothing like amazing, So at the time I was like, oh my God, $500. That's a lot of money. But oh well, but you know what? It's like sometimes you got to make, or you got to spend money to make money, right? So I was like, okay, well okay, fine. I'll put that 500 on my credit card. And at the time I was thinking, oh my God, $500 on my credit card. Ah! But so I paid for the first one, went to it, wasn't impressed. It was the first one I went to was basically one of those like MLM things. No, I'm not going to. And actually, that brings up another point. I'm not going to tell you the names of this company that scammed me. And the reason for that is because I don't know what the legal things are for that. I don't know if I can, say, hey, this is a scam, and then tell you what the what the actual company's name was. I don't know if I'm going to get sued for that. Maybe at some point in the future, I'll get hold of some good libel and slander lawyer and say, hey, what exactly is what are the rules for this? I don't know, so I'm not going to tell you the name of this. I'm going to tell you a lot about it and like what they offered and what you can look out for as you're going, if you ever find something like that. But I'm not going to, tell you the name on that. Maybe at some point in the future or something, But anyway, so the first one I went to was like, okay, cool, whatever. I went to for the first event. I went to their little 3 day event. It's really weird, I have to say, looking at a webcam where it's like everything I do is like completely opposite my computer screen. It's like, okay, where do I put my hand so you can actually see it? But anyway, geeking out, cool, derp. Anyway, but yes, I went to this first thing. I went to their first little day. 1 day thing. They, I bought into their little 3 day workshop. Went to the 3 day workshop. Didn't like it. It was basically an MLM thing. Basically, it was a total scam. Like they weren't even like doing like one of those MLMs for I don't know, like some of those other MLMs you see where people are selling like the little essential oils, or they're selling like what's that really big one, Amway, that people talk about? You get sucked into Amway and they're having you sell their household products or whatever. It wasn't even like that where they were actually like pulling you into an MLM where you're selling things to people. This MLM, it was basically a pyramid scheme as far as I'm concerned. But basically, the goal with that one is we're going to bring you into the business, and the only thing we sell is like more seats in this thing. So it's like you buy into our thing, and then we'll, then you'll have the right to like sell sell our MLM to other people, and you can make a whole lot of money bringing other people into this so-called business training thing, that really only exists to, bring other people into it. It doesn't even offer like any real like product or service that you're trying to sell as an MLM member. But anyway, that's kind of beside the point. That was just the first one I looked at. Saw that one. I was like, yeah, I don't really think that's for me. That seems kind of dumb. Like doesn't really offer any value to anybody aside from, hey, you can be in our thing. Sorry about that. Like I said, I've got neuropathy. My eyes twitch. My face twitches. Give me a break. I have pain. Anyway. But yeah, you didn't like the first one. But the second one I found, I ended up really liking. I went in, I did the first day thing. They had some guy talking there. I don't even remember what they talked about. I've actually still got the notes somewhere, but it was kind of like these cool things that like as a fresh entrepreneuring, addict, and I was like, oh my God, all these cool entrepreneuring things, and some of the stuff I read about in like Rich Dad Poor Dad and like, some of these other little books I've been reading, they talk stuff like that, and it's like, oh, really cool, and actually, I think what they actually talked about the first day is they talked about why you need an entity, like an LLC. They talked about like asset protection, which is something that blew my mind. It's like, oh my God, you can actually like do things that'll like stop people from suing you. Like, oh wow, like talk about, that makes a lot of sense. Hey, once I make money, I don't want to lose my money, right? So I should protect myself. Cool. But anyway, I was really impressed with them. Thought it was really cool, and ended up signing up for their 3-day workshop the next month. The original like 1-day workshops I went to were like last December. So for reference, like currently it is January 31st, 2019. This was actually not December of 2018, but December of 2017. So just over a year ago now. The actual 3-day event, both of them actually that I went to were January of 2018. So they would have been literally a year and a couple days ago. But anyways, just so you have some reference there, that's the time frame. But anyway, so I ended up signing up for this second 3-day event. We'll call it Company X. That'll be what we'll call it for the rest of this podcast, unless I find I have permission to actually like tell you what it is. But anyway, so I went to Company X's little 3-day event, and that cost me $2,000, and I was like, oh my God, this is a lot of money. I just paid $25. I paid $500 for the first one. I thought that was a lot of money, but now it's like, oh God, I'm sitting on $2,000 worth of X more credit on top of that. So now I'm in debt like $2,500. And at the time I'm thinking, oh wow, that's a lot of money. Oh God. And keep in mind, I only had like a $3,700 credit line. So, at the time it kind of was a lot of money for me. But anyway, so I signed up to go to their 3-day event, because I thought, oh wow, everything they taught me at this little free thing was really cool, really mind-blowing. I didn't know whether it was really worth anything or not. It never really occurred to me. It was kind of just like, oh my God, this is information I don't have that's really cool. I really want more of this. And you know what? Oh, well, I guess I'm going to have to, pony up. Like I said, you gotta spend money to make money, all that nonsense and stuff. I was like, well, okay, here we go. Here's my credit card. Sign me up. Ah! I signed up. I went to the 3-day workshop. I showed up. The 3-day workshop was really cool. It was held at a big resort here. I went in, I did the whole, come in for 3 days, and it was kind of cool. I got a lot of good general information. Like at the time, I thought it was really, really good information. Now that I'm a little more experienced a year later, after a year of doing like entrepreneurial stuff and startup, it's kind of like, well, yeah, some of it was really good stuff to be aware of. I mean, it wasn't necessarily something where you could like take these notes I wrote and like just go through it and like actually do it, which is kind of the whole point of this podcast. A little side note here, this podcast is not going to be about the scam. I'm going to tell you about the scam, and I'm going to tell you about my experience with all this stuff. But really the point of this podcast is to take all this stuff that I learned over the course of the year. And again, like most of it, I didn't learn from this, business training scam, that promised to teach me a whole bunch of stuff. Most of the stuff is stuff I had to learn on my own, seat of the pants, as I was going through my first year of trying to start up a company. And so what this podcast is all about is all the stuff I learned, that I paid a lot of money to learn, that they never taught me, that I had to learn on my own, that you're going to get for free just by listening to this podcast, you know, or watching these videos, or, you know, if I end up like taking this and transcribing it to a blog or something, if you want to read the blog, whatever. You know, but the real point of this series that we're going to be, and I'm hoping it's actually going to be quite long. I was making a list of notes on my phone the other day about all the things I could talk about, and it's like a long freaking list. So anyway, we're the point of this is going to be not to just rail on this company X that scammed me. You know, but believe me, there'll probably be plenty of that, and you know, I will actually get pretty in depth with, you know, what exactly happened in this story and whatnot as we go through this series. But the point is not to rail on the scam. The point is, I guess, firstly, to make you aware that firstly, this kind of stuff that happens out there, these companies that are like, hey, come in and pay us thousands of dollars and we'll teach you everything you know to, you know, take your business to the next level, or take your business to the, you know, like start a business, you know, they're full of shit. You know, and I'm sorry to say it, there may be some good ones out there. In my experience, the ones I've seen aren't. They'll take your money and, you know, give you some little tidbits and stuff like that. It doesn't work that way, guys. And I'm sorry. The whole, you know, $0 to $1 million in 3 months with our program is bullshit. You know, if you see that, run for the hills. You know, or at the very least, if you want to go to their events, leave your credit card at home. You know, or better yet, leave it with your like really like cynical, pessimistic friend who, like, no matter what you could do, could never convince anything was good ever. Give them your credit card if you go to these things, and don't let them, like, tell them, don't give this back to me until I've like come home and been like, had a week to like calm down from my, oh my God, this is awesome. You know, but anyway, so that's the point of this podcast. Is I'm going to be talking about all the lessons I learned and the stuff I had to figure out, so that other people like me who are like, oh my God, I want to start a business, but I have no idea how. Guess what? This information is totally free. You know, you don't have to go and spend, in my case, thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, and I'm actually going to show you how much I spent here in a little bit. But you won't have to pay for this information. You know, that's just stupid. Some of these companies, and in my opinion, they're very predatory. You know, and I think that's really shitty. I think it's actually hurting people who, you know, really want to start a business and could create something amazing, you know, and maybe they fall into these companies that scam them for, you know, thousands of dollars, and it completely, you know, ruins any chance they ever had of being an entrepreneur. You know, maybe they would have started the next Google or the next Amazon or something, you know, given enough time, or, you know, or even just like the next local, you know, store or something, you know, maybe the next little mom and pop shop, you know. But maybe they're never going to get a chance because this business came along and totally ruined their first entrepreneurial experience. Apparently I've got tough enough skin that even though I got honestly really fucked over, sorry, you know, like, and apparently not apparently, I am still very interested in doing it, you know, and I'm actually, finally getting my own little company, ready to go. I'm hopefully I'm going to be launching in the next month here, finally. But anyway, so total tangent. That is the point of this podcast, to give you lessons about everything I learned and figured out on my own that, you know, I paid a lot of money to learn and then didn't learn from these people who were supposed to teach me this. You know, so anyway, that's, for your information, that's what this podcast is going to be about. So anyway, back to the actual story that we were getting through there.